Good afternoon, sir. Welcome to ORF Middle East. As India and China mark 75 years of their diplomatic relationship over these 7 decades, both countries have seen a lot in terms of their bilateral ties. And at the present moment, it stands at a very critical juncture with a lot of structural shifts that have taken place, unresolved tensions, and also selective cooperation on certain issues. But however, despite all this is not a relationship that is one of outright hostility, is more of about a guarded coexistence, so to speak. So, for instance, even amid the border issues and border tensions that have happened, there has been economic cooperation and other cooperation at multilateral forums and platforms as well. So as we mark 75 years of diplomatic ties, it's a good time to explore how India views the evolving contours of this relationship, what has changed, what remains the same, and how it's going to be going forward. So to begin with, I wanted to start by asking you, what are India's current diplomatic red lines when it comes to restoring stability in India-China relations?
Yeah, so you're absolutely right that India and China are two large countries in Asia. They're neighbors. They have a shared border, which is a disputed border. They have large populations, large areas. So obviously there are areas in which India and China might see things similarly, but there are also areas where India and China do not view things exactly the same or similarly. And over the last few years, of course, the bilateral relationship has been marred by the military tensions in what India calls Eastern Ladakh, which is in the western part of the line of actual control between India and China. And that, unfortunately, has impacted the rest of the relationship too. India took some measures, including banning Chinese apps, making it more difficult for Chinese companies to invest in India. But we did not do any such thing with bilateral trade. So trade between India and China, despite the military issues and problems and tensions, has continued to boom over the last 4 to 5 years. So when you look at the 75th anniversary of diplomatic ties between our two countries, it's really a mixed bag. But I think the way forward is for both countries, both governments, to be able to manage how the relationship is structured so that they can move forward together.
Right. Thank you. Moving on, with India and China both championing reform at the global stage, we have seen that they've amplified their voice for the global south. Do you think that there is room for calibrated dialogue between the two on designing new global norms, particularly in areas like digital sovereignty, climate finance, and also multilateral debt reform?
Unfortunately, the fact of the matter is that the United Nations and its organizations are a little bit in a limbo or defunct over the past few years. And the reason for that is because the politics, international politics has been changing so fast, and the United Nations itself has not been able to keep pace with it. So the United Nations of 2025 still reflects the realities of 1945. And as a result, we find that the United Nations needs to be reformed so that it can keep pace with what's happening in international politics. But with the United Nations system itself being in a crisis, I think what is happening is that large countries across the world are beginning to take decisions amongst themselves. The G20 is an example, where 20 big economies of the world work together to make decisions for the rest of the globe. That's beginning to happen in other areas too. So I think there are areas like climate change, as you mentioned, like how we move forward on AI and such technologies, where India and China could actually work together with other countries and set international norms.
Perfect. To conclude, and as this is a forward-looking question, do you think India needs to move beyond just managing differences with China and adopt a more active posture of strategic deterrence diplomatically in response to China's growing, expanding power and footprint across the immediate region and also globally?
No, so, the fact of the matter is that China is today the second largest power in the world, not just economic, but military power too. It's a $18.5 trillion economy. And therefore, India needs to take certain measures to guard its own sovereignty and territorial integrity, which we are doing. And if we are able to do that and able to come to a sort of working relationship with China, then we'll find that we are able to do things together also. So it's a question of being able to have deterrence, but also to be able to work together in some of the areas that we mentioned earlier in the program.
Right. Thank you so much, Ambassador Bambawale, and thank you for watching.
Thank you.